All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Robin Devine, and I am one of the board members for the Alberta Lymphedema Association, and I'm very excited to have you out this evening for our one of our lymphedema nights. And we are very lucky. We have three amazing speakers who are joining this evening. We have Alla Hardoon, Amy Rivera, and Pierre Gonon. So I'm just going to introduce to you your speakers and then let them take it away. So Alla is considered a top expert in the Greater Toronto Area and beyond the province. She is a public speaker and educator on the subject of medical compression wear in the field of primary and secondary lymphedema, lipedema, edema, venous insufficiency, and wound care garments. So as a professional post-mastectomy and medical compression garment fitter and a certification course graduate of the USA, she has extensive knowledge of compression, lymphedema, and extremity pumps used for upper and lower extremities. Amy Rivera is the founder of Rivera Hybrid Solutions, a company that specializes in distributing innovative compression bandages for lymphedema patients. She started the company after her personal experience with lymphedema and the lack of effective treatment options available. Amy has a background in business and healthcare and is a passionate advocate for lymphedema awareness. Pierre Gonon is a founding member of the International Lymphedema Framework and CEO of Tonic Innovation. He was previously the managing director of Sigvaris Britain, and I'm sure there's a lot more about Pierre, but that's all I was given. So I'm officially going to hand this over to our three lovely guest speakers and let them duke it out for who gets to start everything off. Take it away. Honestly.
So I guess
there we go, Mike.
first.
Okay, good. Take it away.
Okay, so I'm Amy Rivera, and I was born with primary lymphedema, and unfortunately, I was misdiagnosed for over 32 years. And during that misdiagnosis, I did not know how to treat my lymphedema, so my right leg grew to be 200% larger than my left leg. Once I was finally diagnosed in 2013, I was given all the great things that come with lymphedema, the bandaging, the compression, the surgeries, everything that is all lymphedema related, treated, and to live with was thrown at me in one session. So as I was getting used to bandaging, it was kind of difficult for me. If you can imagine, my right leg being 200% larger than my left leg, it was very large. I had an additional 35 pounds on just the right side of my body. So I know I had to bandage, but it was really difficult for me to bandage because it hindered my mobility even more than it already was, just with my leg being the weight and size it was. And it was also really hard for me to bandage my limb that size. It was hard for me to bend down. It was hard for me to wear anything, if at all, except for shorts. And I was pretty discouraged with my treatment, to be honest. So over the years, I continued to try to reduce the size of my limb, and it was very difficult until I started seeing other options in the lymphedema toolbox. You may hear as lymphedema patients say. So what was going on was I was just going through and trying all these options, and then I found that I saw Fast and Go at a conference, and this was at when my leg was at its severe stage, again the 200% size. And I saw that the bandage, and so I wanted to try it. And I was really, I was shocked to see how fast my leg reduced in the bandage and how soft the bandage was, but most importantly, how easy it was for me to apply it compared to all the traditional bandages. And it's not that, it's not that traditional bandaging isn't important. It's really important. It's the foundation of our treatment. It was just hard for me to comply with that because it was really hard to bandage that way. So when I saw Fast and Go and I tried Fast and Go, I was thoroughly impressed just with how I was able to do it myself. And then a few years later, I saw Fast and Go again. And at this stage of my life, my leg was down. I'd already had the surgeries, and I was already wearing 2 layers of compression. I still have to wear that compression, but I wanted to try the Fast and Go with my leg at this size. And again, I was stunned with how fast it helped my leg reduce. Even though I did have the surgeries, I still have fluid in my leg, just because I don't have the lymphatic system there. So as I began to wear it more and more often, I was able to control my home treatments more and more often because I still see my therapist and I'm still in CBT phases. So at that point, I completely fell in love with the product and I wanted to bring it to market for us patients as an option for our toolboxes, not to replace anything, but to add in addition to other things that we currently use, because I found it to work really well with other products, and I still use those other products with it, and I still love Fast and Go. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Pierre and let Pierre share the science behind the simplicity and the uh, the freedom that it gives us as lymphedema thrivers.
Okay, thank you, Amy. I'm just going to share my screen with the presentation. Sorry. I'm going to go very fast because I know time is important. As it will be recorded, you will have the opportunity to go through the presentation as much as you want. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Fast and Go for me is all about sense and simplicity. A lot of the field of medicine and of medical equipment is not a true science. It's not an exact science, and sometimes you have evidence which will just go against some previous evidence, and you don't really know what is true or not. So more than teaching you anything tonight, would like more for you to understand what the compression therapy is all about and the options and what works for you or does not work for you. So very, very quickly, if you look at our body, for the blood, we have a pump, which is the heart. But the problem is that the lymphatic system as such doesn't have a pump. So the only way to move the lymph or to mobilize the lymph is through muscle contraction. And that is what the pump for the lymph is going to be. And the role of compression therapy in that is to, first of all, have a role of compression, which is to apply an external compression around the limb. Sorry, well, during the whole presentation, I'm showing you with my arm. All that I say is also work for the leg, but it's much easier for me to show my arm than my leg during a Zoom meeting. So, sorry, applying external pressure onto the limb will have an effect that will help the venous flow. But you can also use the containment with compression therapy. And the containment consists in building an inelastic barrier around the limb to avoid the development of an edema when the patient is not moving. And when the patient is moving, the inelastic layer you have put around the limb will create peaks of pressure that will actually move the limb. And you don't have to be a specialist to understand that the higher the variations of pressure are going to be, the better the pump. Okay, I'll go back to that at a later stage. So the idea is really to combine movement and compression therapy to act as the missing pump of a lymphatic system. In terms of, sorry. In terms of material, basically you have two types of materials you can use. You have the elastic material. Just one question, do you see me and the presentation also? Yeah, okay. So for example, this is the stockinette you normally use to protect your skin when you use compression therapy, etc. But you can use it as an inelastic bandage by wrapping it around your limb. That's inelastic. On the other hand, you have elastic materials, and I'm taking here one which is very, very elastic. You can stretch it more than 150%, and it's, as you can see, the stretch over force curve is very flat. When the for this one it was very steep. But if you look from a mechanical point of view, you can see that with both these systems, you can get whichever compression you want. For example, in that case, in case of these two, if I want 30 millimeters of mercury on my leg or on my arm, I have to stretch the elastic one 80%, and then I will get my 30 millimeters of compression around my limb. The inelastic one, all I have to do is stretch it, if we can say stretch, 9%, and then I will get the same compression. So that's one thing which is very, very important to understand, is that the materials do not have a force. And I'm talking bandages here, but it's exactly the same for other types of materials you could use on your lymphedema. And the pressure that you get on a limb is the result of Laplace's law, in which the only element that refers to the bandage is its width, not any other technical specification. So the pressure is mostly the result of the tension of application and the overlap of a number of layers. You don't need much demonstration to understand that if I put this elastic bandage like this, I do get a bit of compression. If I put it like this, stretched to the maximum, I will get much more compression. And the number of layers, the overlap, and the tension are operator dependent. So really what you have to understand that in bandaging, the real question is not what material or what system should be applied on this patient, is who is going to apply it. The rest you can accommodate with that, but it's who is going to apply the bandage. So the question that usually comes out at this stage is to say, well, if I can get the same compression with this one and this one, which one should I choose? Well, that's where it becomes much more interesting and puzzling also, because the real difference is what happens around the stretch of application. So as you can see, with an inelastic one, I have a very, very steep curve, while with the elastic one, it's a very flat curve at around these values of 9 and 80% stretch. So the choice between elastic or inelastic will depend on your objectives. If you look at the effectiveness of a system you're applying on the limb, on the patient's limb, or the capacity to mobilize the lymph, it's clear that if you have a very steep curve and the patient is moving a little bit, so the volume of the circumference of the limb changes ever so slightly, you will have major differences of pressures. So the pump we have seen before will be extremely good. So for effectiveness, the more inelastic the bandage is, the bigger the variations of pressure during movement, and then the better the system is. While with a flat curve or very elastic material, the difference of C's of pressure or of the pump will be maybe in that case about 10 millimeters of mercury. Okay, so if effectiveness is your main objective, you want an inelastic material. But it's too simple, because if you have a very steep curve here at 9%, what happens when the edema reduces? And I remind you that one of the objectives of compression is to reduce the edema. Well, the more efficient you are in reducing the edema, the faster you become less efficient. So maintaining this effectiveness in time is actually the contrary, where a flat curve will mean you keep some compression, even if you have edema reduction, when you lose it very quickly with an inelastic one. And last but not least is the safety of application. In medicine, you do studies, clinical studies, etc., on some drugs or whatever. I'm going to use paracetamol as an example. If you do a study on paracetamol, you don't just do a study on the ingredient, the paracetamol. You do a study with a dosage. And when your doctor tells you, oh, you have to take some paracetamol, he or she will not give you the same dosage depending on what your condition is. Sometimes it will be 500 milligrams or 1000. The problem with compression is that the dosage is extremely difficult because of this vertical curve here. Because if you see, for example, if I stretch this one 10 or 11%, then I'm immediately at 60 or 70 millimeters of mercury. But if I go down to 7 or 6%, I'm almost at zero. Well, with a very flat curve, if when applying my elastic bandage, I don't respect exactly this 80% stretch, but I go 70 or 90, the variations of pressure or the consequences in terms of compression are minimal. So, and many studies show that a very elastic system is much safer to apply, and the control of the dosage of the force of the compression is much easier. So the ideal system for compression should be as inelastic as possible and as elastic as possible. And we have a problem here because that's a real challenge for everybody. Just a small bit apart, many people, I've been in the field of compression and lymphedema for 22 years now. Many people ask the question, well, bandaging, is it a science or an art? Well, a science, definitely. And from the challenges I mentioned before, you can understand why all the guidelines or the books or the recommendations will say exactly the same thing. It takes specialist knowledge and skills to have a safe and effective application of compression bandages. And you can have any document you want, you will read that more or less with the same words. But the tools explained by the science are another thing. Bandaging is also an art, because if you gave me the same tools as Botticelli, I can guarantee you I cannot, with the same brushes and the same paint, I cannot do that to you. So the art of bandaging exists, and it's a good thing for the patients because you have very talented healthcare professionals who can really manage these challenges we've seen before. So bandaging is a science and an art. Now, let's go back to our two bandages here, the elastic and the long stretch. If you look at this curve, in the 1960s, the first obvious choice was to say, okay, let's go for short stretch bandages. We go in the middle. This way, they will be safer to apply than inelastic one, and they will be more efficient than elastic ones. And it's true. Here again, I don't want to go into too many details, but we did a study which confirms what we have known, is that trained people, people with the skills and the knowledge, are extremely good at applying these bandages. And the dosage is actually better in the study we did than with long stretch bandages. When people who had never applied a bandage before, as expected, did very well with the long stretch ones, but had a major problem of dosage of compression with the short stretch one. So no question, these short stretch systems are very good and safe, effective when applied by trained people. I just want to mention one study which was done in Germany a few years ago, where they looked at the pressure under these bandages when they were applied by home care practitioners, mostly nurses, some specialized, others not. And it wasn't a small study because 1,100 or healthcare professionals, home care professionals, took part in it. The objective was to be between 50 and 60 millimeters of mercury. 12% only reached that goal. But more importantly, or more amazingly, is that they measured pressures under these bandages, the same one, from 6 to 173 millimeters of mercury. Where is the dosage here? Where are my millimeters, my milligrams of paracetamol here? Does it say that some patients received 6 and others 173? That's a problem. 6 is definitely safe, but not efficient. 173 without a patient moving is probably too much and potentially dangerous, but that's another story. So very good solution, short stretch bandages, but not adapted to self-bandaging or home care use. So in the 1980s, people started thinking differently and used or thought about a phenomenon which is quite interesting. This bandage, as I said, is 150% stretch. Now, what happens is if I fold it into 4, like this, and there's no magic here, it's pure physics. When I try to stretch it, it's probably 50, 60% stretch. By adding layers after layers of even a very elastic bandage, you reduce the stretchability of the overall system and therefore its efficiency. And here again, talking mechanically here, with 4 layers of a long stretch bandage, I get to more or less the same efficiency as the short stretch bandages, but with the safety of application of each layer, because each layer is 150% stretch. So the safety, the dosage of a compression is going to be very easy and safe. So very good system, except that it means you have multiple layers, and many patients will use that in self-managing and are happy with the result, but usually complain about it being complicated and time-consuming and resulting in a bulky system. So more recently, we have seen the appearance of 2-layer kits. And the 2-layer kits somehow are a mix of the 2 systems before. So it's multi-layer, but with 2 layers. And most of the bandages, some are different, but are usually short stretch or rather inelastic bandages. So you combine the 2. The main problem, or the fact is that they are disposable. So if you look at the application, it's quite easy because you just have 2 layers to apply. They are quite effective in maintaining a volume, not reducing it, maintaining a volume. And the studies have shown that they can be effective for up to 7 days. And they are adapted for hospital use because they are disposable. And I can fully understand hospitals wanting to use disposable product. But if you look at what happens, and I'm using the data from the French healthcare system, which is official data, is that between 2014 and 2021, the overall cost of bandages for our healthcare system has gone from 30 million to 90 million. And if you look at what caused or what is causing this is 2-layer kits, because they are disposable and they have to be changed every, on average, 2.5 days on patient. But also, if you look at from an environmental point of view, in 2021, we have created more than 600 tons of waste in France with these bandages. So my question is this a real good system for our healthcare systems and our planet? But also, I mean, a bandage remaining effective for up to 7 days is great. What about the patient's daily life? What about patients being able to take a shower when they want, or proper shower when they want? And my conclusion is that they are not adapted for the management of a chronic condition in primary care or home care, because they cost a lot, they create a lot of waste, and they are not really user-friendly. So the solution we have developed with Fast and Go is a hybrid system. So instead of trying to balance the two or find some solution in between, we are actually using these two, the ones I've shown you. And the way we do it is that in our workshops, we insert the elastic one into the inelastic. I'll show you the diagram. Okay. We stretch the elastic 30%, not more, 30%, and then we make some seams every 10 centimeters. So that's a Fast and Go bandage. You should be able to see the seams here, you see, and there's another one 10 centimeters further. That means in a relaxed state, you see you have more cotton than elastic material. But when I stretch it, when I get to 30% stretch, mechanically, I can't go any further. Okay, so the stretchability is limited to a short stretch bandage, and it actually is the only, or at least the first, single layer bandage. Multi-component, because you have an inelastic component and an elastic component, and it is short stretch bandage. So with that system, in theory, we were getting rid of both we were combining the benefits of both systems and getting rid of the inconveniences of both systems. And it's very, very easy to prove. If we look at the safety first, the study I was talking about before, you remember the trained staff applying traditional short stretch, and doing it very well. When with traditional short stretch, the people who had never applied a bandage before were struggling. And you can see that with Fast and Go, both groups, the first-timers and the trained staff, reach the same level of reproducibility and the same level of reproducibility as the long stretch bandage. And the easiest demonstration, which unfortunately we can't do today, but when I'm at a conference, later on, I will show you on my arm the pressure sensor I have here. I can already tell you, I'm going to apply 35 millimeters of mercury on my arm later on. Anyone attending this presentation, if we were in a live event, I can guarantee you that if you apply Fast and Go, according to the instructions for use, you would give me 35 millimeters of mercury, around 35 millimeters of mercury, no matter how experienced you are, or if you're a professional or a patient or anyone else. So in terms of safety of application, we do have the advantages of the long stretch bandaging. In terms of effectiveness, the image I was showing you before, and I'll go very, very quickly on that because that will be the second part of the presentation. We'll see that you can very easily have very, very high differences in pressure and therefore a very efficient pump. And going even under the skin, we can show with fluoroscopy images that after 3 minutes of just having this movement on a healthy patient or a healthy volunteer, without bandage, that's a normal quantity of lymph that is mobilized. With Fast and Go, after 3 minutes, you can see that you have much more lymph mobilized. So the effectiveness is there. But we also wanted to go for simplicity. And there's a list here. I'm going to go very, very quickly, just for you to be aware of that. And we'll come back to these elements after. First of all, single layer reversible bandage. So might sound stupid, but it means it will be a simple and quick application. And rewinding and washing, because I've talked in the last years with hundreds of patients, and rewinding your bandages can take a lot of time, and washing them can take a lot of time. Here, single layer can't be simpler and quicker. Reversible. Sorry, no, single layer again. No question about which one to apply first. There's just one to apply, so you just apply the one you have in your hand. No question about which side goes against the skin. It's both cotton. Both sides are cotton, exactly the same. So you don't have to worry about that. We made it as simple as possible. And because it's single layer, it's not bulky. The end system is not bulky. The challenge, and when I talked about the art of bandaging, that's what it is that each time you apply either short stretch bandages or multi-layer or two-layer kits, you have to rebuild on the patient the right mix of elastic and inelastic material, depending on the patient, on the edema, etc., etc. With Fast and Go, you don't have that. The right mix is here. We have done it in our workshop. So all you have to do, and I'll insist on that, is wind Fast and Go under tension, and then when you apply it, you've got the right mix, elastic, inelastic. For upper limb patients, we have an anchor point, and I'll come back to that later. We have an overlap indicator, which is the line you can see in the middle of bandage, and I'll show you when I apply it on my arm. That's for a better dosage of compression. We have a connector. I think I might have forgotten it. I'll show you later. I think I'll find one later, or I'm sure Amy will have one to show you. But that is for making the application for the lower limb patients much easier, because the small connector here will allow the patients to keep the momentum of application and make it quickly and simply. Then we have a fastening system, and here again, I'll come back to that later, which was developed by us, and which works on the same principle as Velcro, but is 100% textile, no plastic. So it's much less aggressive. You see, you can go against the cotton, it won't pull any threads. And it only works when stretched. So we have an on-off position, which makes it much user-friendly for the patient. And then it's washable and reusable. So as a conclusion, if you look at the three elements that are so important for the patient when self-managing, or when the bandage is applied by a carer or a caregiver or a home care practitioner, the efficiency, the safety, and simplicity, we have managed to make them all in Fast and Go. And we can easily demonstrate that you don't have to have these specialist knowledge and skills to have an effective and safe application of Fast and Go. What's in it for you? Effectiveness has to be a given. You don't want to use anything that is not effective. So we have shown you we know Fast, and I will show you later, Fast and Go is extremely effective. If you're a self-managing patient, what's in it for you is for your daily life and the empowerment. I'll talk about this in the next slide, I think. I don't necessarily agree with the practice of keeping patients 24, 48 hours in bandaging. I can understand why it's like this, because the bandages have to be applied by trained staff. But with Fast and Go, you can decide when you will bandage, and you can adapt your bandaging to your daily life and not vice versa. If you're a carer, husband, wife, children of a patient, what you want is the safety of application and the simplicity, because you're not trained practitioner. You are going to do it, yes, but you want something that is safe and simple, and that's what we give you. If you're a home care practitioner, I don't know if there are any attending this meeting, but the safety is key, because they don't, unfortunately, I mean, I'm not saying they're not capable, but they don't have the necessary training and practice to have always a safe application. And we have seen it with the German study. And the time, because these practitioners are usually overworked, and we give them the possibility to do a very effective and safe bandage in a few minutes. And if you're a trained person, if you have been bandaging for years and years, you might not necessarily do better with Fast and Go, because you are already giving the best of whatever system you're using, whether it's short stretch or multi-layer bandaging or a mix of all of them. But time is going to be of the essence, because as far as I'm aware, specialist practitioners are at least as overworked as the home care ones, and maybe giving the time to them to spend more quality time on the patient or to see more patient is what Fast and Go will give you. That's the slide I was talking about. The thing about managing is that on an edema, I insist on that, and it's not me saying that, it's Professor Hugo Barge, who, compiling many studies, showed that in general, you've got a 50% drop in 2 hours and 2/3 loss after 24 hours. And he illustrated it with that graph here, saying if you start at 60 millimeters of mercury, after 1 hour, you might just be at 40, and after 2 hours, you might be at 30. And the rest of the time, you have some pressure on your leg or your arm, which is better than nothing, clear, but it's not what you could expect from a bandage. And with Fast and Go, the capacity to apply it quickly and safely will give you the possibility maybe to change that in your daily life and your bandaging routine. So that's it. And I just wanted to finish on this slide again, because I talked about the art of bandaging, and the title of this slide is "You're Not Alone," and this is addressed to the patient, because you might not have noticed, but Venus actually has a lymphedema on her left foot. Okay, that's it. You can get my contact details. I would advise you to visit the hybridbandaging.com, contact Amy or Alla if you have any questions. It's a very technical question. You can contact me, no problem. And I just wanted to finish with another Italian artist, which apparently said simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And in that case, I would say Fast and Go bandage is an extremely sophisticated bandage. Okay, now, I don't know if Amy or Alla, if you want to say a few words while I set up the demonstration of the pressure sensors.
Sure. Hi there, everyone. So I guess I was already introduced. Thanks so much for intro. My name is Alla Hardoon. I'm the owner of CareMed in Toronto. I represent brand in Ontario and Canada. I have a medical background in nursing, internal medicine, lymphology, podiatry, and a few more. I do what I do for past 17 years in Toronto, and my specialty, lymphedema, lipedema, combination of both care. And I teach the subject at all hospitals in Toronto to medical staff and students. And I can answer any of your questions about presenting and having garments Fast and Go in Canada. I brought it here about 4 months ago, right, Amy? About December, right? 4 months ago. And I have quite a bit of experience, and happy to share it with you. And my experience is obviously experience of my patients. And so far, it's only beautiful one. I saw a comment there, I think was from the association, saying that it's obviously a time saver. It truly is. I have people purchasing the garment and traveling with it when they go out of town, especially somewhere warm. And as Pierre said, first stage of decompression, which is the most happening within first hour to 2 hours. And it is really, truly great because you can bandage, you can get up in the morning and see that what outside, especially now we're into summer, weather is changing rapidly. We have lots of humidity. And you got up in an hour after you got up, you're not even in your stocking yet, but you already you're large, your arm, your leg is large, and you just takes about a minute to roll the bandage the way Pierre explained to you with the full stretch, which gets you your 30 to 40 compression. And then I'll answer that question about washing in a minute, and you will just wrap yourself. It takes about really truly a minute to roll the bandage, and I will give a website of mine right there in the chat at the end of our presentation, and you can watch my videos, and I show how to roll the bandage, how to wrap half a leg, full leg, and an arm. So it takes about a minute to roll the bandage. It takes about a minute to wrap, maybe 2 minutes at first to wrap an arm, half a leg, and about 5 minutes or less to wrap a full leg. It's really, truly time saver. It's very safe. And here in Toronto and some other provinces, when we already had made presentation and we're already selling there, we have great response and we're doing quite well. Washing is, you can do hand wash. It's very quick. Actually, I made a video today with help of my assistant. We made a video today of me washing the garment in the sink at the office and putting in a towel and drying it, and then how you hang it to dry. So you can do hand washing. It will take you 2 minutes to wash it by hand in a nice warm water with the mild detergent. Just make sure, as you do with your compression garments, you don't use any stain removers, any abrasive chemicals, or any fabric softeners, because it will lose that compression. You can toss them in the machine. Actually, I brought my office set of full leg garments with me yesterday, and I washed them in my washing machine. So I put them in a garment bag, right? Just a zip up garment bag, mild setting with mild detergent, again, no softeners. In 15 minutes, garment was ready, and I put it over coat hanger, just like a sort of a zigzag over a coat hanger, and it was dry by the morning. So it's all good. It's not a don't put it in the dryer, please. You will shrink it because outer layer is cotton. Did I miss any other questions? Can you just look it up if I missed anything about washing? We'll get back. Let's Pierre have his presentation, so he's ready, and then we'll go back to questions.
Okay, thank you, Anna. I'm just going to do that. And okay. And this is it. Okay, so what you can see here is, I'm just going to move. Okay. What you can see here is the results of the pressure applied here on my arm. I will do it with fast and go, so that you can see the application on the arm. Then I can show you what happens if, with the sensor exactly at the same place, what happens if I put an arm sleeve flat knit arm sleeve, and then a circular knit arm sleeve, and maybe 2 arm sleeves on top of each other, etc. So what what you will see is that when so I'm first going to apply Fast and Go on my arm, and then we will see the pressure sensor. So as I said, for the upper limb, we have the anchor point, which allows the patient to start easily and with their fingers stretched. And that is important for the lymph circulation. It's much better than when you're holding your bandage to start the application. Having said that, at this stage, we do not do anything for the fingers or for the toes. So please, before trying Fast and Go, make sure you do what is right with your fingers or your toes, whether it's self-managing or toe caps or gloves or whatever you're using. And then you start the application, usually on top of the hand. If it's more comfortable for you to start below, you can also start it like this. It's no problem. And then, depending on the edema, you can have one. You can go over the hand once or twice if you have edema on top of the hand, so you want more pressure. And you can go twice or 3 times, I mean, in extreme cases. And then you just unwind it onto the limb. Here it's my arm, but for the leg, it would be the same. And that is probably the single most important element when you apply Fast and Go. Because if you apply a bandage, whichever bandage, like this, it's extremely difficult to control the compression here, because you have a torque effect. And if you're an expert, no problem, you can do it. If you're an expert patient, you can feel the compression, so maybe you know how to regulate that pressure. It's not a problem. But if you are starting with Fast and Go, just do it like this. And respecting the 50% overlap, you see the black line here goes against the side of the bandage. And I'm putting some tension here, but because I'm in contact with the skin, the tension cannot be too great. So the reproducibility of the compression is going to be extremely good. I'm just going to do one thing, because there's the wire of the pressure sensor I need to put on top here. And so I keep on going with my application with 50% overlap. Some patients might require, especially at the elbow, might require a figure of 8. Don't believe Fast and Go is the ideal system that will solve all the problems to all the patients. Some patients have lymphodemas that are more difficult than others. And the role of the healthcare professional, even with Fast and Go, is to help them find the right solution and the right application. And so you see, I go on with my application with the 50% overlap. And one thing, when initially Fast and Go were developed, patients loved it. They say it's brilliant, very quick application. We still have a problem. I'm going just to move my camera a little bit. We have a problem to finish the application, because if a bandage finishes here, we can hold it like this and take the tape we need to fasten it. But if it finishes here, it's very, very complicated. So what we have developed is a fastening system, which will appear very, very soon, which is the one I've shown you before. And because I have prepared it, it's already in the bandage, so I don't have to put it now. So all I have to do is go around my arm, or if it was my leg, it would be the same, once without pulling, because you don't want to do a tourniquet effect. And then the last 15, 20 centimeters, you pull it and it's fixed. For very active patients, we have a hook here, which you put, if you could see it, underneath, and that's it. Your bandage is fastened and is not going to fall down. Okay, so now if you look at the screen, I'm just going to connect the sensor to the pressure sensor here, and I'm going. So you will see, and sorry, I'm just going to show you, I'm putting my arm flat on the desk so that you can see what happens when I'm not moving. The value of the compression will appear here and also here, sorry, underneath here. And you will see a yellow line, which will go live with the variations of pressure. And as I said, I predicted 35 to 40 millimeters of mercury. You might, I did a bit more this time. You can see it's going down slowly. And that's it. Yeah, I'm at 42, 43. Okay. I'm just, because that's something I really like about these pressure sensors, they're so sensitive. As you can see, the curve is never flat, really. There's always some small peaks. That's my heartbeat, because I have an inelastic layer around my skin, and the pressure sensor can detect the heartbeats. Okay, can't measure it though, but it will detect them. What I'm going to do is that I'm just going to change the scale so you can realize better what happened. Now I'm going to move my arm up. So any movement will change the compression, but I'm trying to keep it relatively similar. And look what happens when I just squeeze my hand very slowly, very gently. I have peaks of pressures of nearly 70 millimeters of mercury. And this is not a difficult exercise I'm doing. If you imagine a patient in front of a TV in the evening, squeezing a ball or just doing this movement, or just moving the foot like this is what they're going to get. And that's already a very, very good pump. So I'm going to stop here for a moment. And then if I do more exercise, you see, I go up to nearly 120 millimeters of mercury. And here again, I'm not into very active movement. I'm on very slow movement, but because of the amplitude of the movement, this is what I get. Okay, and then if I put my arm again back here, I'm going back to my 40, 42 millimeters of mercury. That result is not exceptional, because if a healthcare professional with the right skills and the right knowledge made a very efficient bandaging, they would get to the same result. What is amazing with Fast and Go is how quickly and simply I get to these results, and the fact that anyone flying Fast and Go will achieve this kind of result. Just for your information, and then we can have a discussion if you want. I'm just going to remove Fast and Go, so you will see that the pressure is going to drop, obviously. Okay, and as I said, I'm going to put an arm sleeve, because what people tend to forget is that an arm sleeve, or even more importantly, a stocking, have to be elastic, because you have to be able to put them on. And if you look at the difference in diameter between your ankle and going over the heel when putting on the stockings, a garment, whether an arm sleeve or a stocking, have to be elastic. And when I say elastic, it's usually around 70, 80%. So as we can expect, the results with an arm sleeve just are going to be much less impressive than with fast and go. Okay, so here I have, I'm not putting the upper part, the sensor being here. I don't need to do that. And I'm going back to connect it to the pressure sensor. Okay, I'm putting my arm flat on the desk and I'm going to measure the compression. This one should be around 20 millimeters of mercury on me, which is fine. It's what it was made for. The difference, as you can see, is when I'm not moving. As I told you, the curve is perfectly flat, which wasn't the case with Fast and Go. I'm just going to wait to get to the new screen. Okay, and look what happens when I do the same movement. And this is a flat knit garment. Okay, it's not inelastic, so it's no surprise I get such result. And if I go to the other movements I was doing, yeah, I do have some differences. I go up to probably 30, 35 millimeters of mercury with that exercise. So if you, well, first of all, doing exercise is always a good thing with lymphedema, because as we've seen, it's muscle contractions that is going to move the limb. Doing exercise with your stocking or your arm sleeve on is better, because these variations of compression here will be a pump for your limb, but very, very little. And just for argument's sake, I'm just going to remove that flat knit so we can compare. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying arm sleeves or stockings are not useful. They are extremely useful. They are part of your treatment, and they will always be. We do not replace arm sleeves or stockings with Fast and Go. It's just that depending on what you're doing, you will be doing much better on your lymphedema with a Fast and Go if you're exercising. And here again, I'm not talking about running a marathon or something like that. With gentle exercise, you can get already some very good compression. And so I'm just going to connect pressure sensor again. And this one here usually gives me a little bit less. Let's see what's. Well, you see, it's we're at 20 again. Okay, flat curve. And if I do my movement, you see, I have some variations of pressure. And at the end, we will be able to compare the things. And yeah, you see, I've got some variations which are, as you will see, probably around the same level as the flat knit one. Flat knit is a way of knitting a garment, which is extremely interesting for lymphedema, because the garment is quite rigid. So it is much better for an lymphedema. But in terms of variations of pressure, it doesn't do anything more than a circular knit. And just to finish, I'm just going to put a second one, so the same size. So as you will see, I will approximately double the compression. And if you listen carefully to the presentation before, you will understand that adding two elastic on top of each other will overall reduce the elasticity of the system. So as you will see, the variations of pressure are going to be better. So here again, I should be around this time 35, 40 millimeters of mercury. Yeah, you see 35. And I'm not moving. And if I move and do my movement, there is more than just one. And if I do the big movements, you see I get two interesting values of 50, 54 millimeters of mercury. And if that is enough to control your edema, then that's fine. But if you want to increase that pumping effect, then fast and go will be the best solution. I'm just going to stop this. And this is the summary of all we had seen. You see fast and go here with a pressure sensor always at the same place. I insist on that. The flat knit one with very similar results as the circular knit. And if I double, and if I put a third one, I would get probably something around 50, 60 millimeters of mercury and variations of pressure that would go up to 80 or 90, starting from a very high compression level. But if you compare around 40 millimeters of mercury, you can see with fast and go, you go up to 120. With two layers, you go up to 55, 57. Okay, and that was it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And maybe we can then answer the questions.
I see a few questions. I've been actually while you were doing presentation, Pierre, I was trying to answer a few of them. I'm right now, I think is Diane, you're asking a question about, does this product replace our sleeves and stockings? I actually started typing back to you saying that I saw it always since the beginning, since I actually started communicating with Pierre and Amy back, it's a few months already, like 8 months ago, back in the summer last year. I always saw it as an addition, a simple, safe addition to what we have at home, just to combine all the possibilities together. So you're not short as a lymphy, you're not short of something that you may think that you're missing, especially this is the only one and unique of an only unique product of its kind. So what I suggest to my patients, and I have a couple of thousand patients in Toronto, and I consult for people literally all over the world, like you name it, any country. So what I suggest when we talk about Fast and Go is, because it's such a fast application, and if you go to my website, and I'll put it, maybe you would like to share it with your participants later. So on my website, on the page that actually addresses, like I have a landing page for Fast and Go, I put there a few, three videos, 4 videos. One is how to quickly roll the bandage. It's really a minute. Then one, how to wrap a lower leg up to the knee, how to do the full leg, and how to do an arm. So what I say that, because it's such a fast application, a minute to roll the bandage, 2 minutes to put the full arm together. So it's under 5 minutes to do it. And as Pierre mentioned before, and I already did it right before he did his presentation, decongestion reduction happens within the first hour, and there is absolutely no need to walk in a bandage all day long. And you can obviously, and it's amazing if you do, use your flat knitted or your circle knitted garment. So you just quickly wrap, reduce within an hour. You'll feel that you're already feeling better, you're already feeling lighter, your skin, there is more skin, less volume. You don your garments, you put on your garments and go on with your day. It works amazing for people with rapid weather change, like let's say Florida, LA, warm climates, where it's like, you know, when we have this up and downs in the temperature, you wake up and by mid-morning you're already up, right? You're already swollen. A minute, you wrap yourself up. Under 5 minutes, you wrap your whole leg up. You decrease, you reduce, you get more comfortable, you put your stockings on and you go off with your day. In a very warm weather, like daytime California, Florida, We have a few patients from Peru, Colombia, India. I had a few people asking me from India because they saw the videos. So it's too hot for them to wear garments there. We are lucky. We have sort of 4 seasons, right? And we also have mild temperatures through the day, so we can utilize all the garments we have. We can decompress quickly for an hour with us and go, put a garment on, go with our day. If we have, if we're privileged and, we have a pump at our disposal, and we can use pump before we can go to bed, and maybe wrap with Fast and Go for nighttime. So we have all the gadgets, and our weather is more accommodative where we are, and France as well, right? You're more of a mild weather, right? You go through normal 4 seasons. People far down south in the very warm climates, they can't really wear their garments. It's way too hot for them. So I have quite a bit of my clientele that is, we call them snowbirds, and you too as well. They go down south. They spend 6 months a year in Florida or California. I have quite a few people who are from Chile, Spain. They go often there to see their families. They can't wear their garments during the day. It's way too hot. So what they do, and I hear this like now because snowbirds are coming back. It's April. They're traveling back from down south, and a few people came back from Spain, Chile. A couple of people came back from India. So what they do, they just wrap for an hour in the morning. They decrease, they go about their business, they come back, they feel that they're a little bit more puffy, a little bit more swollen, their leg, their arms a little heavier. So they know that this is such a quick process in applying and seeing the results that they will reapply, reduce, and if they need to go again, meet their family, friends, or do their shopping, they will just remove it and go and come back and put it again. Or it's very flexible, and Amy will just confirm that it's such a flexible garment. I'm just a medical professional. I cannot speak to you from the experience. I can speak to you from the experience of serving people with lymphedema for so many years. And every time I demonstrate this, I put this piece goes on my leg, and I show everybody how it's done, and I start walking in the office and sitting up and jumping up. It's very flexible. You can go for a walk, you can exercise, you can do your rebounders. Actually, I did an experiment myself. I brought this home, and I know how it works in just regular environment. I put it home, I put it on myself. I got myself a professional rebounder, just sit in front of my nose. I don't do much about it, but when I do, I just put it on and I did my exercise with it. I set up, I was jumping, I was doing whatever I was doing. It hasn't moved. It stays on perfectly. So it's beautiful.
So are these products, do they need to be custom made?
Not at all. So sizing, I think I replied to one of the ladies. I think she's from medical facility. I replied to her. She was asking a question. So size of bandages come in lengths, and length of a bandage is its size, and size come from the sizing chart. We can share with you our sizing chart. I actually added on to sizing chart, and I'm happy to consult everyone. I can share and I think I'll share with you, Diane, and you're free to share my personal email and my office email with your participants and whoever needs it. My office staff are all nurses, they're medical professionals. So my assistants are all medically trained, and they're very well versed now in how to size for Fast and Go. So it's missing a little bit here. So we only have all of the foot, and we have the top of the leg for full leg bandage. But when we have someone who has a very pronounced calf, and we don't take calf in consideration when we measure for full length garment. It's important for me to ship you the right garment to know what is the calf measurement as well. So we can just ship you a size up or size and a half up. Oh, here you go, we got a chart. So we can sometimes this measurement of the calf is a little bit over standard that is considered for full length garment. And then I would need to send you a size up or half a size up, which is just in the middle, sending you a bandage, which is like 50 centimeters more or full meter long. And they priced exactly the same. I guess Pierre is very generous, and thank God. It's amazing that we don't need to justify the price by the size. It's the same as any other garments available. It's all the same price, but we will just send you proper size based on measurement. So don't hesitate. Just shoot me an email with the size. I'll let you know what's missing, so we can always send you what's proper.
Okay, and somebody I think asked the question as to the pricing of this product.
Mm-hmm.
Would you need to speak with them offline, or can you give us an idea?
Oh, no, it's nothing nothing that is a secret. It's the same price for everyone. So it's the same price level in US. We don't keep price a secret, and we transferred that price into Canadian currency to cover our Canadian like border fees and everything else, taxes. So for arm and half a leg, so foot to knee and full arm is $260. There is no tax. We already covered the tax in Canada. It's already in, so we don't charge additional 13%. And because I don't know how about your province, but because product is actually sold by my office, who is registered in the province that doesn't charge additional tax for medical garments, that's how it is in Ontario, there won't be a charge to you for the tax either. I spoke to my accountant, and he teaches accounting in U of T, in University of Toronto. So he confirmed with government that there won't be any additional charges for tax. So it's $260 for full arm of any size and half a leg of any size. And full leg is not double. Full leg is $450, not $520. It's $450. So we sort of work the price that it works. So it's not a secret. It's just an open book price.
Okay, perfect. And is there any place in Alberta that patients or medical personnel could go check it out, or is it just you at this point?
Well, I represent, a brand in Canada, and I'm in Ontario. If there is a medical professionals, I'm very willing. We're all very willing to have brand out there, be seen, be liked. So it's my investment as a vendor in Canada into this project. So I'll be happy to send if medical facility, and I already offered I think it's Jennifer who reached out to me, and
Yeah.
her right. So I already offered them, and they already replied to me that it's a leg that they would be interested in. So they will be in touch, and I'll be happy to ship them. It's a very pricey item. We don't have samples. It's nothing disposable, but I'll be happy to send them a sample of it at no charge.
Okay, there's just another question, and if I've missed any questions, I'm trying to read them as we're going along. There's been quite a few, so thank you to all the participants that are asking questions.
Pierre, did you want to say something? I think Pierre had something.
Yeah, just one, as we are on the sizing chart, because there's a question that usually comes about using padding underneath fast and go. I don't know, I haven't seen the question, but maybe there is or there isn't. So technically there's no problem. Any type of padding could be used underneath it. I would make a big difference between the the small padding that you might put around the ankle in the retromalleolar areas, or if there's some skin folds, which is absolutely necessary for some patients. And that's I have absolutely nothing against that. In terms of general padding, what you have to realize is that any padding you put between an inelastic layer and the skin of a patient will absorb some of the efficiency. The efficiency of a bandage comes from inelastic component. And the more inelastic it is, the more efficient it is. So if you put something in between that inelastic layer and the skin, you will absorb initially some of the efficiency. If you're going to stay a long time and with your bandage on, then after it will bring it back some of the efficiency. So depending, here again, there's no one way of doing it, depending on the patient's objective. But if you're going to exercise for 1 hour, don't put padding underneath, because you're going to reduce the effectiveness of your bandage. And most probably what you will end up doing, and I know Amy does that very regularly, is readjust the bandage, because after 20 minutes of exercise, the volume reduction drops the efficiency, and therefore you will, by reapplying or readjusting it, start again from the maximum efficiency. That's, yeah, all I wanted. I don't know if the question was out, but
And can you wear this at night, like for the full night while you're sleeping?
Absolutely. It's non-elastic compression, right, Pierre? As a non-elastic compression, which is your typical, if you're more familiar with fair wraps, juicer wraps, midi, juxtafit, juxtalite, any non-elastic compression, just as any other bandages like your co-bands and anything else, it's very safe to use at night. The only difference that it's very flexible and very comfortable, and it's cotton against the skin. So me talking about it, and I know every single garment under the sun, I can tell you that it's safe, but quite a bit more pleasant.
Okay. And now somebody's asked about pelvic, and I know that we have a few people that have facial and chest. So is there a product that you have that they could use?
no, except for the creativity of the patient. This Fast and Go, as I said, is not the perfect product. It's a tool we are giving patients, and I know quite a few patients who have been using it in the pelvic area and getting some results that are better than what they were doing before. So if that works, until the day they will find something else, it's possible. Just for your information, we have a study going on for the application of Fast and Go immediate post-mastectomy for lymphorrhea. No, sorry, it's not lymphorrhea. It's word escapes me. It will come back. But the accumulation of lymph immediate post-surgery, and they are applying Fast and Go immediately after the surgery, and the patient then does it for usually a week, and that avoids the lymph, the accumulation of lymph in that area. So be creative.
Yes. Oh, that's a good, that's happening. A nice study for everyone, breast cancer patients, you know, and primary patients. Everyone needs help with lymphedema, as you probably know. I'm just going to ask if there's any other questions. If you want to come off of mute and ask the question yourself, please do. I think we've caught all the ones on the chat. If we haven't, please send us an email and we'll pass it on to whoever can answer that question. Okay, So we're getting into an hour and a half already, but this presentation has been very, very informative, and it would certainly help a lot of clinics in Alberta to make it a lot faster to wrap somebody and to be able to use. And Jennifer is one that works at one of the clinics, and she's asked for product. So that's really
Sure.
great thing that you're going to be able to help them. And Pierre, thank you for coming
Thank you.
on so early, I guess, for you. To the rest of you, thank you so much. This has been a very good education, and I truly think that your product's going to help a lot of people.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Diane. So any questions, just let us know. We'll help in any way we can.
We will. Thank you so much. And for
Thanks.
the rest
Thank
of
you.
you, thank you
Bye-bye.
so much for joining. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.